Good afternoon. Thank you all very much for joining. This is the information session for our data engineering bootcamp that will start in London on the 8th of January 2024. My name is Bernard. I'm one of the admissions managers with Generation UK, and it's my great pleasure to be with you for the next hour or two to talk through everything data engineering, Generation, how to apply to one of our bootcamps, and what the benefits of our bootcamps are for you as you move into the next part of your employment journey. So thank you for joining. I really appreciate your time if you're watching this live or if you're watching this played back. This webinar will go through everything you need to know about your application and how to apply, but it is interactive. So right now I can see there's a bunch of people watching. You have a chat function available to you. So if you want me to touch on anything in particular during this webinar, or if you have any particular questions, or if you want me to go back over something or to answer something in particular that you are curious about, please post a comment. And from time to time, I will dip into the comment area and check if there's anything that I can answer. So if you're watching this live, please do jump into the comment area and let me know if there's anything that I can help you with or anything that I can answer live. And I see Rahana, I see you there. Thank you very much for saying hi. And encourage anybody to drop any questions in there, and I'll turn to them every once in a while. Please do be respectful and be kind to each other. Looking at this slide, I'm one of the admissions managers, and I will be looking after your applications as you apply. So I'll be your main point of contact. And also my colleague Yasmin will be the person who will be answering any emails that you send. And you'll get the contact details later in the webinar. You can see on the bottom right-hand side, this program is delivered in partnership with InfinityWorks and the Department for Education. So InfinityWorks are a division of Accenture, and they are like a consulting company, and they are the ones who supply our instructors. So you are being taught by people who are working actively in the data engineering field. So what will we cover today in this webinar? First of all, I will introduce Generation. So who we are, where did we come from, how do we work, and what are the benefits to you for taking part in one of our bootcamps. I will give you a bit of an insight into data engineering as a field and as a career path. You'll have a chance to hear from a previous graduate in data engineering and also from an employer. So somebody in a junior role and in a senior role in the data engineering field. And then I will talk about this bootcamp in particular that's coming up that starts on the 8th of January. So I'll talk about the next steps and what the deadlines are between now and then. All in all, we'll be together for about an hour and a half or 2 hours. Yes, this will be recorded, so you can go back over it and rewatch at any point. So Generation was founded in 2015, and we've been in the UK since 2018, 2019. In that time, since 2015, we've had over 90,000 graduates, and we work together with over 3,000 partners who are employers. Generation is present in 336 cities around the world, and those are in 18 different countries. In the UK, we work predominantly in 5 different regions and also the Republic of Ireland. This bootcamp in particular is for people who live in London, so in any one of the London boroughs. One of the stats that we're super proud of, and this is a UK particular stat on the right-hand side there, is that 84% of our graduates outperform their peers in productivity and quality outcomes. So what that means is that our graduates, when they've gotten into their role after they've graduated, after they gotten into a job, after they graduate from us. We then went back and we asked employers, how are our graduates performing? And in 84% of cases, employers said that our graduates were outperforming their peers. And those are peers who were hired straight from university or straight from apprenticeships or college. And so we're really proud of that stat because it shows that the Generation Bootcamp model really works and sets you up for a really good slingshot into your career. Generation was founded in 2015 after a piece of research. And this research found that on one hand, there are lots of people who are currently unemployed or underemployed, who are more than capable of work and more than capable of doing really interesting and complex and worthwhile jobs and working in really meaningful careers. However, they lack particular skill sets or particular technical pieces of technical knowledge in order to start on those career journeys. On the other hand, there are lots of employers who are struggling to find entry-level talent for these same career paths. So there are lots of jobs out there, and data engineering is an example of one of them, where there are not enough people who are trained to be data engineers. And also there are lots of people who are currently underemployed or unemployed who could do those roles. They just lack the technical knowledge for those jobs. So Generation was founded to provide skills bootcamps in order to upskill and train people to do those specific roles and then introduce them to employers who are hiring in those fields. So to jump into the comment section and answer Amina's question, because I think that's relevant here. Amina asks, do you need any experience? So in order to do our data engineering bootcamp, you do not need to have worked as a data engineer in the past. You should have some basic knowledge of, for example, coding. You should have a good digital literacy. Just because data engineering is quite a technical subject. So we do expect you to be able to do the basics of Python coding or to have like good digital literacy, but we don't expect you to ever have worked in data, to have any particular experience, or to have any particular education. So you don't need to have gone to college or university, and you don't need to have done any particular trainings or work experience to get into this bootcamp. We want to see that you are engaged and enthused and eager by the possibility of a career in data engineering. And we want to see proof that you've started to move towards this already by upskilling yourself in coding and knowledge of the career sector. But otherwise, no experience or education required in the area. In the UK, here are an example of some of the employers that we work with. And some of these you can see are large companies, some are in the public sector, and some of them are small companies who are quite niche. And these are employers where we have placed graduates from our different boot camps. A lot of these are tech companies or consultancies, as you can see, but some of them might be a little bit more surprising, such as for example, the Opera House or Sainsbury's. Those are companies that are large enough that they'll then have a digital department within them. So, quick jump into the chat and a chance to be a little bit interactive. So just thinking about what the worth of a data engineer would be to a company, and not specifically a company that works in data, but just a general company. Question is, how much data do you think will be created in 2023? So petabyte, exabyte, zettabyte are all exponentially above each other. How much data do you think will be created in 2023? Would it be A, 152 petabytes? That's 152 with 15 zeros. Would it be 35 exabytes? That's 35 with 18 zeros after. Or do you think it will be 120 zettabytes with 21 zeros following? How much data do you think would be created in 2023? And if you think you know the answer, you can drop it in the chat, or you can just hold it in your head, and I'll give you the answer in a second. So how much data do you think will be created in 2023? The answer, which I'm sure you might not be surprised with, I see somebody got it on Twitch, you're absolutely right. We expect there to be, let me make this a bit bigger, 120 zettabytes of data this year, which is 120 followed by 21 zeros, which is a crazy amount of data. If you think your computer probably only has like 256 or 512 gigabytes, your phone maybe only has 64 or 128 gigabytes. This is a phenomenal amount of data. And you can see 2023 here. And you can see this is expected to just keep growing almost exponentially. The curve just goes up. I think I saw a, what was it? I think by the year 2100 or 2200, we're going to have more data than there are atoms in the universe created if we continue on this curve. And this, like, the phenomenal amount of data that is being generated needs people to manage, control, disseminate, and partition, put it together, present it really well, so it can be legible and understood and made use of, because otherwise the data just keeps piling up and none of it is valuable. And that's where the data team comes in any organization that is medium or large sized. So there are a couple of different roles within a data team. Sometimes they overlap, but for the most part, they are distinct. And these are data scientist, data engineer, and data analyst. So a data scientist is the person who performs the advanced analytics to extract value from data, oversees the full process of the data journey, and focuses on forward planning within organizations. So you can think of them a little bit more like a project manager. They will probably use a good amount of stats, and they're kind of, although they manipulate the data, they're kind of one level removed because they see like the overall big picture. And they'll take projects from end to end. They would use like SQL, Python, and R, and they would use a good amount of mathematics, programming, and then they'd work on their communication with wider teams. Jumping down to the bottom then, the data analyst is the person who kind of converts the data into like legibility. So they can take the raw data, they cleanse it, they clean it, they transform it, and they turn it into like a narrative and a story, and allow their organization then to make wise data-driven decisions. But the person that is pivotal to the whole team, because they're the one who manages the data and ensures that it is accessible and really well managed, is the data engineer. So they would manage the flow of data from multiple sources into a lake or a warehouse, and then you set up systems to collect it and make it accessible to the data scientist and the data analyst. So the data engineer are generalists, but super versatile, and you would use computer science to help build large data sets. Your focus would be typically on coding, cleaning up data sets, and implementing requests that come from other members of the team. Skills required: programming, mathematics, and big data, and you might use tools such as Hadoop, SQL, and Python. So you can see that the data engineer is a really important and pivotal member of the data team, because without the data engineer, the data is inaccessible, it's scattered, and it's not able to be converted or transformed by anybody. So the data scientists, they kind of sit as the project manager. The data analysts are the ones who turn the data into narrative. But the data engineer is the backbone and the one who makes sure the data is legible and accessible. The data engineer is a relatively technical role compared to the other two. And that's why our bootcamp that we provide is quite technical. and it does require a good amount of commitment in order for the huge amount of payoff on the other end of getting into this role. So just an idea of where the data engineer sits kind of within the team, and also what the career trajectory could be. So at the start, you would kick off as a junior data engineer, and we see salaries of around £25,000 per year, which is really good for an entry-level role. And this salary is it keeps going up as you complete performance reviews, and over time as you get promoted into data engineer and then into senior roles. So as you progress, you will get more focused, and you might want to move into your own niche, or you may want to expand and become a really strong generalist. And you'll get to focus more on architecture and even designing and building systems instead of maintaining them. So you can see you move from junior through to manager through to senior roles, and then you can either work on a niche or become a generalist or move into managing your own team of engineers. As a data engineer, then, you're connected in with other members of the data team, such as data scientists and data analysts, and then also with other bits of your organization, being the business teams and like management. So that's a really quick and general overview of the data engineering role, what it looks like as a career, and just some rough salary points. Later on in this presentation, I do have a recording of one of our graduates who's working as a data engineer, and their manager who's working in a senior role, and they'll talk some more about what their day-to-day is like as data engineers, where they started, and what their current their daily functions are, and what a day-to-day looks like, and also what they enjoy and what they find challenging about their roles in data engineering. So really importantly, is data engineering for me? So like I said, data engineering is the most technical bootcamp that we run at Generation. So we have varying levels of kind of tech roles that we do bootcamps for. And we also do one for data analytics. We do one for IT support. And we do one for cloud computing. But data engineering is the most technical, and it can also be seen as the most rewarding because just because of how pivotal and backbone that the role is in an organization. So it is something to bear in mind. But so when thinking or considering, is it for you? It's important to ask the questions of, are you excited by the potential data has to solve real life problems? You'll hear some examples of what that could be later on. I do enjoy a really varied and interesting workload where no 2 days are the same. Are you motivated by problem solving? And are you motivated by thinking of solutions? So just because something works this way or is run this way today, that doesn't mean it has to be run like that tomorrow. And are you somebody who thinks about what the plan B and what the possible other outcomes could be? Are you somebody who has a really good eye for detail when you execute tasks? And are you somebody who really enjoys seeing something through to the end? Are you somebody who can be proactive, working independently, but also part as a team? And are you somebody who can articulate the work that you've done independently to your team members? Do you really enjoy evolving and collaborating in a supportive team? So nobody in tech knows everything. So you always have to learn together. And as a data engineer, you're very much part of the team where you are maintaining the data that other people are accessing and making use of. So you are the backbone, but you're also playing a supportive role across the whole data team. Tech is the future, but you're not sure where to begin your career. So you may want to develop transferable skills in the sector and specialize later down the line once you found your passion. So on one hand, data engineering is super rewarding, and it has a clear career path from junior data engineer through to senior. However, because it is quite technical, even starting at the junior level and then starting to move your way up, You can specialize into different parts of data engineering, but also you could use those pieces of technical knowledge and all of the soft skills that you've developed to then transfer into other teams or other roles. So you could potentially move into data analytics or data science, or even across into, for example, cloud computing if you picked up some professional development in a cloud computing fundamentals course. And because data engineering is giving you strong stats, statistics, and analytics skills, you could potentially move into statistics or into another tech role as you kind of mature in your career and as you move forward. Data engineering is a really good starting place for somebody who is interested in AI, because you will be picking up bits about machine learning and excuse me, and also transformative modeling as part of your learning process. So it's relatively straightforward once you're in the role to then be able to keep doing professional development to move towards the bits of the tech sector that you want to work in. Practical information about the bootcamp. So this is a data engineering bootcamp. It starts on the 8th of January, 2024. And I know that that feels like absolutely forever away because it is still October. It is the 31st of October. I forgot to mention Happy Halloween to everybody. So we're still like 2 months and a week away from the beginning of the program. However, there is a decent application stage and a couple of different steps that we need to get through in order to complete your application. And we do have a rigorous application process in order to ensure that we get a really good picture of where you are in your current career journey and make sure that this is the right next step for you in your career. Because we don't want to waste your time, and we want to make sure that we're training you and upskilling you into a sector that you would enjoy and that you're available and interested in moving into. The offers for the program will be sent out before the new year. So generation usually closes around Christmas time and the new year. So the offers for the program will be sent out before we finish, kind of around the beginning of December. And I'll share the exact timelines with you later. And then there will be some induction and orientation before the new year, and then a little bit right before you start, and then you start on the 8th of January 2024, which is Monday. The bootcamp lasts for 12 weeks. So you will graduate at the very beginning of April. And then you will start our sixth month placement phase. So during those 6 months, you will have access to our employment team who will help you to find your very first role in data engineering. And I'll explain how that works. And we've really worked it down into a good science. And I'm really excited to tell you how it works later on in a couple of slides. The schedule for the bootcamp is Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it is a good time commitment. However, there are kind of two reasons that we do our bootcamps full time. The first reason is that it is a lot of content. So especially with these tech bootcamps that we run over 12 weeks, it's a huge amount of content. If you think about it being a bit more than an A-level in terms of content, but we don't want you to take out a whole year or 2 years to do the amount of content, because we want to get you from where you are today through to starting your data engineering career journey as soon as possible. So we condense it into full-time learning, and we design the modules to fit really well together, that it's a mixture of soft skills, technical skills, project work, so that it's like a fulfilling and enriching day. Yes, we condense it down into as short amount of time as possible, being Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 for 12 weeks. The second reason is that some people come to us who either have never worked before, so they're coming to us straight after they finish school or college, or they dropped out of school or university, or you might have taken a career break because you're raising your kids or for some other reason, or you just haven't been in work for a while. And we find that sometimes employers can be hesitant if somebody has a gap in their CV, because employers aren't really sure what your life situation has been like. And we find that if somebody has joined one of our boot camps and they can say that for the past 12 weeks they have been able to attend 99% of Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and communicated really well and engaged really well and enthusiastically, and then employers are super comfortable with making a job offer based on attendance, because they know that you are trustworthy and able to commit to a full-time role. The cost of the bootcamp is completely free. Generation is a charity, and we are funded by public and private donations, so from corporate CSRs and from public funding, such as from the Department of Education for skills bootcamps. We are able to offer our bootcamps to learners completely free. So we will never ask you for any money, and we are we exist in order to help you get from where you are today into a really meaningful and fulfilling career. So quick overview of what that means. So our trainings and the qualification that you'll get from us at the end are completely free. Again, we'll never ask you for any money. All we ask for is your engagement, your time, and your willingness to learn and show up. The learning is online, so it's predominantly on Zoom, and then there are a couple of other Slack apps by which you will communicate. So for example, we use an app called Slack, which is kind of like WhatsApp, where you'll have a whole class group for discussion, and you can do one-to-one and small group messaging with your classmates and instructors and mentors. The teaching is live, so there'll be an online instructor. Normally there's one online instructor from Generation and one online instructor from Infinity Works, which is a part of Accenture. And then you'll also have a mentor who works with you to ensure that you're able to balance life and learning and everything else that happens outside of program. The mentor will also help you with goal setting, with your soft skills and some employability stuff. And one of the things that makes Generation Bootcamp so successful and so rewarding is that mentoring aspect. So one of our mentors, one of our senior mentors, Shanice, will drop in about 10-15 minutes, and she will talk a bit more about what mentoring is at Generation and how it works and why it's so valuable. As you graduate, so towards the second half of the program, and after you graduate, we will connect you with employers who are hiring in this field. And I'll talk a bit more about that later on when I talk about placement phase. If you need access to, if for some reason there's a practical reason you wouldn't be able to join the program, so for example, you don't have a laptop, or your laptop's not reliable enough to run Zoom all day, or your internet's not good enough, we can provide you a laptop, and we can provide you an internet dongle. So we have a stash of secondhand laptops that if a learner needs, we can ship them out to you, and you will use it for the duration of program, and then you will send them back to us. Also, if for whatever reason you don't have a quiet space at home in order to study for these 12 weeks, we can explore finding you some office space for the time that you are with us. The bootcamp is free, and if you are currently receiving any benefits, such as universal credit, you can continue to receive those benefits. So sometimes if you take up a full-time training program, you will lose access to your benefits, because the logic being that if you're in a full-time program, you're not able to then job search or look for work. However, we have an agreement with the DWP that if you are on one of our programs, we will issue you a letter that you can share with your work coach or with your JCP, which will ensure that you continue to receive your benefits at the current rate that they are at. Somebody on YouTube asks a really good question, being what support is available for those who have learning disabilities? That's a really good question, and thank you for asking it. We do have experience of working with people who have presented with all different types of disabilities, whether physical or learning or mental or otherwise. We will assess everything on a case-by-case basis. And in many ways, this is what the mentor's role is. Because the mentor is there to be able to support you and know about your particular circumstances one-to-one. This starts in the application stage. So as part of the application, and I'll talk about it later on, one of the steps in the application is to have what we call an SNC, which stands for Support Needs Conversation. Sometimes we also just call it a mentor call or a mentor chat. So what this is, and every single applicant needs to complete this step in order to be considered for the bootcamp, is it's a 20-minute call on Zoom with one of our mentors, and they will ask you some questions about what life is like at the moment. So for example, living situation, any caring responsibilities, or any disabilities that you might be comfortable to share with us. And based on your answer, we can start to put together an individual plan in order to see how we can best support you to succeed at the program. What this could look like, and just like kind of thinking out loud or thinking about previous people that have finished our programs. For example, if you might have dyslexia, we could look at can we do like handouts in a different font, or ensure that things are written in a way that's most legible and understandable. If somebody presented with, say, social anxiety, we would work on like confidence building and making sure that they're comfortable and in a kind of feeling they're in a safe space before they had to give a class presentation. If somebody had, say, for example, if somebody came with autism or ADHD, we would look at making sure that routines are clear and that class timetables are presented really clearly, that class expectations are presented really clearly, that there could be some flexibility around engagement and times. Like it really does depend on what reasonable accommodations would fit in well with the learning and what supports we're able to give. So if having a learning disability is no reason not to apply and no reason not to feel that you couldn't succeed, that's very much what the reason for the mentor to be part of the process is, and we will look at them on a case-by-case basis. And that's a question that we can run past Shanice again later when she pops in. Before I move on, I'm just going to jump into the chat because there's one or two more questions. Celine on YouTube asks, is it free for international students? Yes, but there is a caveat that in order to join the program, and I'll talk about this when I talk about eligibility towards the end of the presentation, people who come from outside of the UK, there is a requirement that they have been in the UK or in the EU for the past 3 years. And if that is the case, then we are able to support you on the bootcamp. And finally, one more question in the chat. Amara, you ask if you're wondering what the career support would look like as you complete the training. As you transition in careers, you would be anxious. So please don't be anxious. There's no expectation that you have any experience in data engineering prior to joining this bootcamp. And for the vast majority of people who join our programs, they are completely switching careers from what they've done in the past. I will talk about our placement phase later on in this presentation. Every week you will have check-in meetings and you'll have workshops with our employment team who will make sure that you're staying engaged and staying motivated and keeping up with job applications and job searching. And they'll also be available for you to reach out to if you have any questions or if you find Like, for example, if you found a job that you were really interested in applying for, you could reach out to them and they could look through like the job description with you and make sure you feel comfortable with your CV and cover letter as you apply. As part of the program, there are lots of points where we help make you feel more comfortable with the job application process and make sure you feel supported. So, for example, we will do a couple of different mock interview simulations with you to make sure that interviewing feels much simpler and straightforward as you approach it on the other side. And you'll get a lot of experience with project development and presentation as part of your small group work. And we'll also get you set up on like GitHub and start publishing to GitHub so you feel comfortable continuing with that and doing your own independent projects after you graduate. So before I drop into eligibility, I've just noticed that Shanice has dropped into the call, so I'm going to bring her onto the stage. Welcome, Shanice, to talk a bit about mentoring. You're very welcome.
Thank you so much, Bernard. I know I'm slightly early, so I do apologise if I've thrown you off schedule there. But hi, everyone. It's great to have you all on the call today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about mentorship and what that means for you if you do get a place on the boot camp. Mentorship means a lot for different people in different capacities. So I'm going to talk about what mentorship means at Generation. So throughout the boot camp, all learners get assigned a mentor, and essentially your mentor is there to support and guide you along the way. We understand that the boot camp can be pretty intense, and it can feel as though it's for a very long time. So your mentor is there to really help and guide you along the way through the process. And our mentors specialise in supporting adults. So we have a range of mentors from lots of different backgrounds, teachers and people that have worked in adult education, and also people who are have a passion for sort of wanting to develop others. So a key part of the mentor's role is thinking about motivation and goal setting. So goal setting starts at the very start of the program, where you sort of think about what do you want to work on with your mentor, where do you see an area of development for yourself, and you'll have sort of your mentor there as an accountability partner to sort of help you push along with those goals. And also we understand sometimes your motivation can dip whilst you're on the boot camp for 12 weeks, so your mentor can be there to sort of support with motivation. So a key part of the mentor's role is also employability. I think when I hopped into the session today, I think there was a question just around someone feeling a little anxious or nervous about employability and getting a job post the boot camp. But on the program, employability starts from about week 1, really. We understand that it takes some time for learners to sort of get themselves in a position where they're feeling confident and ready to apply for work. So your mentor will work on your CV, they'll sort of support you with interview techniques. There's lots of different sessions that you'll have, and lots of opportunities to practice. And Bernard mentioned mock interviews, so you'll have a formal mock interview, but then also within sessions you'll have sort of different types of questions, how to answer those, the theory behind it, and then also the opportunity to practice. Your mentor is also there to support with pastoral and anything that comes up for you well-being wise, in terms of if you're having a low day or you just want somebody to talk to, your mentor can be there to support with that. We are really keen at Generation to make the support sort of tailored and individual. So mentorship for one person can look very different to somebody else on the boot camp, because we try and tailor it and to make it specialised based on the needs of the group and the needs of the individual. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about where you'll sort of connect with your mentor, just so that you've got a real good understanding about what that will feel like, so that you can visualize it in your mind. So you will meet with a mentor pre the bootcamp phase, so during the admission stage, and that's just a conversation that you'll have with a mentor. It isn't always the mentor that's going to be your mentor for the program, but you will meet with a mentor during the application stage. Just talk a bit about your needs on the program, and this is a conversation where it's for you to be super honest and really just think about what tools, what resources, what support would you like, and how can we make this experience the best for you. So there might be some questions that you're like, oh, this feels a bit nosy, but like I said previously, we want to ensure that the support is tailored, and the way we do that is just for you to let us know where you might need support, and for us to just build a picture on sort of previous experience you've had with education, and how can we sort of take those learnings there. So if you are then successful on the boot camp, you will then meet with your mentor prior to day one. So we call it onboarding week. You'll meet with your mentor again to just talk through any needs, just to ensure again that you have everything that you need for the boot camp. Do you have all the technologies? You have a great environment? And essentially it's that one final check to be like, are you ready to go to start the boot camp on Monday? So you'll have that conversation with your mentor before the program. And then you move on to the bootcamp phase. So now this is where we're talking about the 12 weeks that you'll be on the bootcamp. You'll have one-to-one sessions with your mentor. We have recently introduced something that we've called like a learner portal. So this is your opportunity to sort of log the conversations that you're having with your mentor, and also thinking about if you want to book in any sessions with your mentor, you've got a space to do that. Like I said, throughout the whole process, you'll be setting goals, refining them, you'll be smashing them, hopefully, and thinking about different ways in which you can sort of set new goals and think about how the ways in which you want to develop. And then, like I've already mentioned, employability, and then signposting to services. So like I said, our mentors come from a range of backgrounds, but we also work with other organizations. If you have a support need, or you need some additional support that isn't within our remit here at Generation, we can support you to other services, also to sort of embed more support around you. And then finally, you'll then have the placement phase. I won't go into too much detail because I know Bernard's got a couple of slides on this already. But essentially, you'll, I say, wave goodbye to your mentor, and then you'll have an employability coach. So the employability coach sits within our team in mentorship and employability, and their role is to support learners who might find themselves at the end of the program not yet quite in the position to apply for a role, or they might need some additional work on their CV, or they're feeling a little nervous about interviews. That we've got our employability coaches there to sort of support you with what it is that you need to develop before you then go into interviews. And it's all about building your confidence through group work and one-to-one sessions to sort of support you before you're then ready to go into work. So there's lots of support pre the program, on the bootcamp, and during the placement phase, where you'll have lots of support with the mentorship and employability team. Bernard, did you want me to go to the next slide? I'm happy to talk through this one, but you can take it if it's on your agenda.
Sure, I'd love that.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go for it. So I'll just talk a little bit about some frequently asked questions that we get during this stage, in terms of how will I be supported on the boot camp? What would that look like? What would it feel like? So a question that we tend, sorry Bernard, I can just hear your keyboard tapping away. You're able to just pop yourself on mute. Thank you. So a question that we tend to get asked is, so what happens if I get poorly on the boot camp? That happens. We understand that people are human. What we tend to do is you can discuss a catch-up plan with your mentor and your instructor. So they'll figure out what's the best way for you to catch up. And all of our materials are online for you to catch up on. You'll have the handouts, you'll then have the recordings, and that will be part of your catch-up plan. What I will say is it depending on the length of the illness or the circumstances around the illness, that sometimes circumstances can differ. But then if it's a short-term illness, and you'll be back in, say within like a week and a half, or a couple of days, then it is likely to catch up. But like I said, it's all depending on circumstances, which we'll discuss with your mentor and the learning team. In terms of financial support, so what is available? So if you're currently receiving benefits, if you're receiving universal credit, you can still claim your benefits. And for those of you who aren't currently receiving benefits, and you're eligible to do that, your mentor can support you with the application and signpost you to the benefits. In terms of equipment, if you don't have a laptop, or you haven't got Wi-Fi, or your environment just isn't the best for you to be learning Monday to Friday, 9 till 5, we can support you with a laptop. We do ask in the first instance that you sort of ask around if you've got a family or you've got a friend who is happy for you to loan their laptop for Monday to Friday, 9 till 5, then we ask you to use that resource. But if you haven't got that laptop, or you haven't got anyone that you can loan it from, then we can supply you with a dongle, and we can also supply you with a laptop. Please do bear in mind that they are refurbished, so it wouldn't be like a brand new sparking new laptop from Currys. It will be something that's refurbished that we use. And then we do have access to a workspace. So again, if your environment isn't comfortable, then we can offer you a workspace in sort of designated office spaces that we have around London. Again, this is on a case-by-case basis. We are a charity, so we want to ensure that that resource is going to those individuals who really, really need it. And then finally, what happens if you don't get a space on the program? That sometimes it is the case, but we're really, really big here at Generation on giving like constructive feedback, and also signposting you to other opportunities with other organisations. Bernard would also vouch for this. We've had people before that have applied for the programme and haven't got through the first time round, but they've then come back off the back of some support, and then they've got a place the second time round. So we don't kind of just leave you to it. We want you to come back, and we want you to sort of find the right opportunity for you. So that's just a bit about mentorship. I can leave that one to you, Bernard. I don't want to sort of take over the whole presentation, so I can leave that one to you. If anyone does have any questions just about mentorship, what it means at Generation, then I'm happy to take any questions if they come up in the chat, and then Bernard can then send them over to me, and I can get an answer if anything comes up. There
was, if it's okay, Shanice, if you've got a minute, there was this question on YouTube that I touched on a bit. I talked about the SNC and reasonable accommodations, and like that's the purpose of the mentor, being there to know on a case-by-case basis how best to support someone, and that a learning disability really isn't a barrier, as long as we can put a plan in place to give you the best chance of success. And just from your perspective, is there anything you'd like to add from the mentor side?
Yeah, and really thank you so much. I think it was Amir that asked this question. Thank you so much for it. It's such a it's an important question, and I think that the main thing I want you to take away is we welcome people with support needs, whether that's learning needs, your neurodiversion, and we welcome that. And I would just really advise people when they have that conversation with their mentor that they're being honest, they're being transparent. And I think quite often when I do my mentor calls, I tell people to relax in the conversation, sit back, it is informal, because the whole point of the conversation is for us to just really understand how can we best support you, what has worked for you in the past, what hasn't worked for you in the past, and how can we think about the support plan that we can offer for you. What I will say with that, sometimes in the mentor conversation, you haven't thought about the support that you need, and then it comes afterwards, like it comes maybe 2 hours after, or it comes a week later to you. It doesn't mean that you've lost your opportunity to talk about your support needs, because again, you'll have regular conversations with your mentor. And also you'll have that onboarding week where you get a chance to speak to your mentor. So we do make accommodations for people who are neurodivergent and do have learning needs. So please don't make that put you off from joining our boot camp, because we do welcome it and we're super supportive of that. Does that answer the question?
Perfect. Yep. Thanks so much, Shanice.
No, my pleasure. And you too. Thanks, Bernard. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Great. And then looking at the eligibility, so this will touch on some of the questions that have been asked already about the international students, and I see somebody asked a little bit about employment. So we do have some eligibility criteria in order to join our bootcamp. Some of these are just practical, being like available to join the full amount of training. And other bits of eligibility are because we are funded and our funders have certain requirements that need to be met in order to draw down funds so that we can make the program free for you. So the eligibility that is in place for this data engineering bootcamp in London is that you are aged over the age of 19. So that is from the 31st of August, 2023. You need to have been 19 years old or older. For this bootcamp, there is not a strict upper age limit. So we do welcome applications from people in their 20s, in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. We are here to support you as long as you've had some challenge getting into this career journey. So we do require you to be the age of 19 or above, but there is not an upper age limit. You do need to have been a resident in the UK or the EEA, which is the European Union and some other countries, for the past 3 years. And you need currently to have the legal right to work and live in the UK, and not currently in education, training, or employment. That by employment, we mean you are either on a 0-hour contract or working part-time up to about 16 hours is okay. So either not working at all, or if you are working on a 0-hour contract, or part-time up to about 16 hours. We do have some people who are able to continue to work and join the program. However, we would expect them to have their employment time outside of program hours. So, for example, if, and I can think of a recent case in Ireland where somebody still worked about 8 hours, but they did it on a Saturday and a Sunday. So they did their normal bootcamp hours Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and then they did 4 hours each day on Saturday and Sunday because they needed to work a bit in order to cover their rent. However, for our programs, because they are Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, you do need to be able to attend those times. If you work outside of those, we would ask you to consider at this point if you'd be able to balance work plus training plus everything else in life. If so, just let us know what you're intending to do, and we'll make sure that that works. This is a useful question, actually, from a dear man. If you've done a skills bootcamp on software development just before the start of this course, would you be eligible to join? It may depend on whether the DFE also funded the previous skills bootcamp, because the question then would be, why are you not using your previous bootcamp in order to leverage into employment? Maybe send an email with some more information, and we could consider what that means for your eligibility. So life in the classroom, and actually that makes me think, I'm just going to drop in what the course email is. So it's data engineering program at generation.org is the program email. So life in the classroom, what does a normal day-to-day look like for these 12 weeks? The delivery is online, so it's delivered on Zoom predominantly, with some other apps involved as well. It'll be Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And the kind of day in the life is on one of the next slides. It is instructor-led, so it is live, and it is taught by people who are currently data engineers or who have worked as data engineers in the recent past. You have access to a data engineering learning environment with real-world simulation through our labs. There are group sessions on Zoom, and then you'll also have time for self-study and small group work. You will do 2 presentations as part of your assessment and as part of the bootcamp. So there's a mini one at 6 weeks and then a group project at 12 weeks, and those will form part of your grade. You'll have access to Slack as a messaging platform to reach out to the whole class. And then also, if you need a laptop or if you need an internet, we can provide those for you. Alongside all of the technical skills, because a job or a career is not just about technical skills, we also provide you with a whole bunch of employability support. So these include specific employability sessions as part of the bootcamp curriculum. We will upskill your CV, your personal bio, give you interview support, including doing mock and simulation interviews with you. We will help you find connections to hiring employers, and we'll also help you with the transition support into employment. So when you find a role or when you get offered a job, we could then help you with transition into your first role. So typical day in the classroom, this is what your timetable could look like. So around 8:45 in the morning, you would log in and either turn on the computer, get all your apps up and running, make sure the Wi-Fi is fast enough, or if you're sick or not available that day, you could report your absence. We have a particular Google form you fill in with your absence reason and when you expect you'll be back. Day will start at 9 with a daily opening or a stand-up session, which is just the whole class getting together to make sure everybody is present, accounted for, and generally somebody will do a presentation, talk about one of their hobbies, or you'll just get a touch-up on what's coming for the day. Around 9:15, you'll have a new technical topic. So the instructor working you through some particular technical skill or aspect of the role. Through to 10:30, you'll have a 30-minute break. Then at 11, you'd have like a skills application session in breakout rooms for an hour and a half. Then in the afternoon, after an hour's of lunch, you would have like a behavioral skill and mindset session. So that's your softer skills upskilling. For an hour, then you might have an employability session. So that's working on your CV or your interview, your job applications. 3 to 4 p.m. when you do like a daily reflection. So thinking back over your day and looking forward to your next day, through to 4:30 when the live instruction would finish and you would have just 30 minutes of like office hours. So that's when you could check in with your instructor, have a one-to-one meeting with your mentor, or work a bit on your project through to 5 p.m. So that's what a typical day in the classroom could look like, and some of the things that you will touch on. So like I said, you will learn all of the technical skills that you need in order to start a career as a data engineer. So you'll learn everything that you need in order to be a junior data engineer. And the curriculum is designed with employer feedback in place. So the curriculum was put together based on what employers told us are the exact skills they are looking for in data engineers. So these technical skills include database fundamentals, programming languages, including Python and SQL, and then also like Agile and Scrum methodology in order to work on like thinking and problem solving and project management. Alongside this, we upskill you in soft skills. So the behaviors and mindsets that are essential to succeeding in the tech sector and specifically in the data sector. So these include communication, proactiveness, teamwork, adaptability, personal responsibility, growth mindset, future orientation, and persistence. So those are some of the soft skills that we upskill you in alongside all of the technical skills that you need to become a data engineer. And then also added to this is all of the employability support and employability upskilling that all come together to give you a whole model of learning where you are fully ready to integrate into the data engineering team. This is a quick overview of what the 12-week curriculum looks like. So you can see week 1 to 6 is very much, it's like a sharp learning experience where it's getting you up to all the fundamentals. And there's a good amount of technical expertise that you're picking up in this. That kind of gets everybody from whatever starting point you're at, no matter how much experience you have in data or in coding prior, to get everybody up to a level playing field by week 6. And after that, you'll be able to delve a bit deeper into the specifics of the data engineering role and the fundamentals of that. So you can see, I might just make this a little bit bigger. So weeks 1 to 6, you'll be working on your behavioral skills and your mindsets. And then alongside that, you'll be doing introduction to the role, introduction to programming, Python ecosystems, OOP, data persistence and encoding, source control, unit testing, data visualization. And this will all feed into week 6, your mini project presentations. And that's delivered in front of the instructor, your classmates, and some guests. And you can see on the top right there, how will you be learning? You'll be spending all of this on Zoom in either whole class sessions, group tasks, and then some individual practice. And you'll be working on VS Code and then publishing onto Git. During this time, you'll be building your own independent project and building your application using the skills that you've learned. And then the presentation is a way for you to kind of show the rest of the class your progress and get some feedback on how you've been doing. Then week 7 to 12 is very much delving into the data skills. So you can see that you'll be doing some introduction to Agile, you'll be doing data security, ETL, work, kind of thinking about what your final project will be, and then working on the project as a group. Data cleansing, warehousing, do a bit of AWS, some queues, and yeah, really upskilling in the technical bits of data engineering, all working towards week 12, where you'll deliver your group project to the instructor, rest of the class, and some special guests. And then, yeah, so alongside the instructor, you will also have a mentor who is assigned to your group. And the mentor is there to ensure that you are, they'll work on your goal settings with you to make sure that you're staying motivated and engaged and working towards like personal goals that are meaningful to you. They will ensure that you're there and able to balance like everything that's happening in life with whatever's happening in the classroom, and that you feel supported and have the best chance of success while you're with us on the program. This will start during the application stage when you have your mentor call, through to the bootcamp stage, and then on to the placement phase where you'll continue having access to your mentor and your employability coach. Shanice touched on these. If you have any further questions about any of this stuff, drop it in the chat and I'll pick it up. So what are our expectations of you during this time? And these expectations are as practical as we can make them. So they may seem a little bit too straightforward, but this is because we have a lot of experience in delivering bootcamps, and we know we know what the formulas are to get you the outcome that you want. And so we work hard in order to keep you engaged and enthused. And we find that the more that somebody kind of buys in to our structure, the more likely they are to be successful. So our expectations are that to graduate the bootcamp, you need to have 80% and above attendance. We find that if you're missing more than this, you really aren't able to keep up with the learning. And we will try and support you to catch up. So if you do happen to miss a day or a couple of days because you're unwell or because there's family emergency, which happens, the recordings of the program will be online, and the mentor will meet with you to kind of make a structure plan to get back up to speed by reviewing handouts and rewatching recordings. However, if you've missed a good while, we find that sometimes it's just too difficult to catch back up, and we might look at deferring. We expect you to have your camera turned on and engaged in the full class environment. Again, we find that the more somebody is engaged, the more likely they are to succeed. And we find this also during the interview stage, during the group task and the mentor call. We expect you and encourage you to please turn on your camera and engage with us actively. You need to be able to commit to the full 12 weeks of bootcamp, so from January the 8th through to the beginning of April. Willingness to participate in our style of learning, so like full class sessions and breakout rooms, and be kind to each other and work well with your team and communicate the challenges that you're having. So, and then embrace the challenges and keep going when things get tough. Think about practically, childcare is a really good example, because often childcare will practically need to be a balance between the commitments that you have in life and the commitments you'd make to the program. But there's other things, such as bits of work that you might have or other commitments in life. So do have a think about what your current childcare plans are, if you have kids, and what they could be in the future. Not just for the bootcamp, but come April next year when you're applying for full-time work, it is worth considering what your childcare plans would be once you are into full-time employment. And as always, please communicate with us. So keep in touch during and after the program. Let us know how you're doing. And we love to hear what your story is from where you are today through to where you will be in the future. So I have a recording of a employer and a graduate that I met a couple of months ago in Macquarie. So Ali is a data engineer, and he is a graduate from one of our previous data engineering bootcamps. So he graduated from our data engineering bootcamp, and shortly afterwards he got a role as a data engineer at Macquarie. So we will hear from him about his journey, and then we will also hear from Una, who is a senior manager and a senior data engineer at Macquarie in the same team, and she'll talk a bit more about like broad level data engineering. Yeah, so it's my great pleasure to bring you this recording, and I will be back to talk about this application stage at the end of the recording. So we'll hear from Ali and Una, and then I will talk about the application stages that are still to come and the deadlines for this bootcamp that will start in January. We have our guests. We have Una and Ali in the waiting room, so I'm going to invite them to come and share. Una is the senior manager, KDB Plus data engineer, and Ali is the data engineer, both of them with Macquarie, which I really hope that I pronounced correctly. And yeah, I'm going to invite them both to the stream where they will share their background and their experience as data engineers, and Ali the same, and also his experience as a generation graduate. Thank you very much for joining, Una and Ali.
Thanks for having us. Nice to be here. I think it's frozen for you.
Yeah, are you okay there?
Wi-Fi issue.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's the
Do you want to
reality of the
start, Ali?
world we
Give me
live
2
in today.
minutes.
Sure.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. We can start with my slides here. Yep. So hi everyone, my name is Ali. So I actually completed the data engineering bootcamp for Generation last year now. It's been 1 year and a lot has changed in my life since then, definitely for the better. And the course itself, the bootcamp itself was such an amazing time of itself, you know. So it's good to be here to be able to just um, make sure that everyone knows the opportunity um, that they're facing right now, I guess. So if we just go to the next slide, I'm not sure if I have. Okay, nice. So yeah, just starting off with my life before the boot camp. So I was feeling very lost, right? I studied sports science at university, um, and straight after that, you know, I didn't have many opportunities presented to me, so I was just doing many random jobs, mainly laboring, which you know brought me amazing experiences, but employers just weren't really interested in me anything beyond that. So you know, and if any of you feel like you know you don't come from a tech background, then you know look at me. I was doing gardening, personal training, and bartending. You know, I never thought that I had anything in me to be able to get into tech. I really believe that you know some people are just born for it. For example, um, so yeah, if you have any of that doubt, I promise you, it's more about what you're willing to do now, and that influences your future, not really what you've done in the past. So yeah, at the time, I still had a closed mindset and my abilities to change. But I'd begin um, hearing a lot about climate change and data becoming very big. And, you know, for example, right now it's still predicted that there's going to be a 50% year-over-year growth on data engineering roles. So anyway, I began self-teaching coding to see if I'd enjoy it. Um, and I really did, you know, so if no one's really explored a lot of coding yet, go for it. Practice through some online tutorials, see if you like it, because it will be something you're doing every day, you know. So it's important that you enjoy that, just as a exercise itself. On the next slide, so um, that was so I had data engineering in my crosshairs, and that was me at the bottom left, and maybe you guys too. Um, so yeah, I was very confused of which path to take. You know, everything felt like a maze. I didn't know what to study. There's so many different tools out there and programming languages. I didn't know if I had to create a project, and if I do, what project do I create? You know, how do I know I'm ready to apply? Um, do I need qualifications, right? And a lot of boot camps and degrees are locked behind large fees. So, you know, for me, that definitely wasn't something that, you know, I couldn't just dish up thousands of pounds just to be able to become ready for employment, not even employed, you know. So that wasn't something for me. And then yeah, Generation, I feel like Generation just came flying and understood all of these issues, understood all of these problems, and had a plan for me. And I found Generation through actually looking at other people's profiles on LinkedIn, seeing how people from a non-tech background got into a data engineering role. And I found many people who actually did a Generation boot camp, and now currently working in tech. So that was for me, you know, evidence that this was something legit, you know. Um, so yeah, on the next slide, I decided. Thank you. So yeah, I decided to go for the application, and I got in, and the first thing I realized was this huge morale boost that I myself and everyone um, was sort of flowing with, because it felt like you know we're all on this course, all on the same journey, and and it, you know the way the generation were talking to us was as if you know you could see it in their face that it was an inevitability that we're going to be employed by the end of this, or we're going to come out of this with you know a huge amount of new skills. So that was a huge morale boost, you know. And immediately you become acquainted, and you'll be bonding with everyone. um, you know, you're not just passively learning with your camera off. Everyone has their camera on, and you're sharing likes and dislikes. You're sharing a lot about yourself and your aspirations and your past. So it was a very wholesome experience, definitely. It's a great environment. You know, it's intense. You're doing a 9 to 5 schedule, but it's definitely not overwhelming, because you've got tech support right there, and you've got mental and moral support, and you've got everyone else is in the same boat as you. You know, you're not just grinding away in your room on your own and passively, you know, learning off slides where you're not interacting with anyone. You know, it's very live, and immersive. So it was really great. And honestly, it's very holistic, so I wasn't expecting to learn as much as I did. I just thought I'm coming in, I'm learning a lot of tech skills, which we were, a lot of constant learning and developing data engineering skills every day. But through group projects and individual tasks and challenges and lectures and maybe reading a few stuff. But honestly, the amount that you also develop skills for employment, right? You're practicing presenting, you're collaborating with others, you're working on your CV, you're practicing doing interview practice, you're showcasing your projects to your peers. Like, it's honestly uh, such a good package, this boot camp, and honestly also a surprisingly impactful mental outlook and development. I came into this with a very closed mindset on my ability to change and maybe my potential future, but um, generation really provide that mental development too, in terms of seeing yourself in a growth mindset, seeing what you can achieve in the future based on the effort you put in now, rather than any perceived or actual barriers from your past. And also a lot of mental resiliency training. So beginning to just perceive things differently, in terms of, oh, I'm frustrated right now, I'm not I feel like I'm not understanding this. This means I'm not learning anything, I'm not smart enough for this. But then, providing you with that perception change, or actually, this frustration that you're in right now is what learning is. This frustration means that you are in a good point. You are pushing yourself, but you're not being overwhelmed, and it's just really great mental reminders there throughout the whole course. And also just great preparation for working as a data engineer in general. You're working in an agile manner, using collaboration tools, doing group projects, which is exactly how data engineering is in the real world, at least from my experience for the past few months. So you have time restrictions in the and the what you need to deliver is constantly changing, and generation simulate that. So it's honestly great. It's great compared to, if you're just coding on your own, and not really having, receiving requirements from elsewhere. So yeah, on the next slide, life after the boot camp. So the effort does not drop straight after the boot camp. You're still applying. You're still encouraged to keep the momentum rolling. It's nice to keep that ball rolling instead of coming to a halt. It's harder to um, get, just keep going with that effort and momentum you create during the course. Made a lot of sense, and there's a lot of support. You're not just left on your own. For example, I had 2 interviews. I had interviews with 2 partner companies lined up before the course even ended, and that was because of generation. Um, and I also applied to many other roles that weren't, partner companies of generation. But I'll be honest, some advice, I was only seeing it as quantity, and I was just trying to fly my CV out there um, to as many opportunities as I could, but I wasn't really putting in the effort to those. So quality over quantity definitely is a good reminder when you're doing those applications. And I also came out with huge new confidence in my tech ability and ability to develop as a person in general, as I've explained with the mindset shifts. And also, you just make great memories and friends along the way. So this is a picture of me meeting up with some of my um, some of my friends that I made along in my cohort that were in the boot camp with me, and we met up at our first event together, a data conference. And yeah, so I was employed within 1 month, um, and I was very blessed. I feel like I was definitely lucky, but generation also provided me with a template for me to just push all of my effort into. Um, so yeah, so I guess I'm an example of that you can be employed quite quickly after this boot camp. And on the next slide, where I don't have too much time. Yeah, so employment as a junior data engineer. The tools and technology we use briefly is Python, SQL, visualizing data as well, using cloud tools like AWS, hosting applications on Docker, writing documentation for your team, using Git, and uh, and all of these things were actually taught to me in generation. So it was nice to feel prepared for my role exactly. And just quickly on the last slide too. yeah, don't let me make you think how boring data engineering is with these kind of boring bullet points. But yeah, it's much more saturated than I've been able to cram onto this slide. But yeah, you don't think you'll be just working away on your own behind your computer. You'll be having daily meetings, team planning, aware that what you're doing actually extends beyond just your team, and many other people picking up on the work you're doing, and they're working on that. You have the opportunity to work hybrid in most of the places. So for example, I'm at home right now, working from home. You get huge insight into the data that you're working on as well. So I'm working on some sustainability projects, and it's really nice to see what, as a society, we're doing with data to be able to make a change to the climate. And as a junior, you have a lot of opportunity to upskill and work on gaining new qualifications and certifications, as well as working. And there'll be many new people to meet and many networking opportunities as well. Yeah, I'll stop there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ali.
Nice.
And you'll still be in the background, so if anybody asks any questions across the 3 platforms, I'll direct them to you. But thank you so much for sharing. And just before I invite Una to come on, I want to ask you, can you tell me what was your one main highlight from the 12 weeks that you were on bootcamp?
The main highlight, just being able to be proud of, I guess, of what you and others have achieved in terms of, you've gone into it from knowing just how to print one line of code to building a whole project with a team, and that was you just basically just realizing what you're coming out of it, realizing that you've done way more than you think you could have ever done. And that's the main highlight for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm
Worries.
going to invite Una to come on now and share her experience in data engineering.
Hello, hopefully you can hear me.
Yep.
Yes. Okay, thank God. Sorry, a lot of technical difficulties there. So thank you, Ali, for stepping in and going first. Yeah, I guess as Ali said, we're both from Macquarie. So a bit of a career overview. I did statistics in university, so definitely didn't, come from a computer science background. Data engineering as a kind of concept, I think, is quite new. It kind of was just software engineering before, but I did coding in kind of my final 2 years, and knew that was something that I really wanted to get into. So I just joined a grad program that would help me travel, and I basically learned everything on the job. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing at the start. So I think a lot of people are in a similar boat who do data engineering now. We've all come from different backgrounds, different journeys, and it's really good to have that kind of different perspectives when you're working all together. So yeah, I did, I guess, a similar sort of thing to Generation, except it was for a company that was for profit. So definitely don't look after you, I think, the same way that Generation seems to do from its graduates. But yeah, I did that. Basically, they trained me up in a language that I'd never used before called KDB, which Bernard had shown at the start. So yeah, that's kind of where I've been, and I've stayed with that. So yeah, I've been in Macquarie now for about 3 years, and I think it's a really good company. We've been hiring people through Generation, I think, from last year, definitely with Ali and his intake, and more recently, my team has taken on 2 people from Generation as well. So we've been really impressed as a company so far, and Generation will definitely be someone that we'll keep in contact going through the years. And if we ever have available roles, we'll definitely reach out to them, because the kind of experience we've had with them has been really good, and the people that have come through have been really good as well. So it's really good. On the next slide, just a little bit of what Macquarie is. So you mightn't have heard of us before, but we're basically a financial services group. So in Sydney, we're kind of like a Revolut or a Monzo, day-to-day retail banking. But outside of Australia, it's a lot more diverse. We own like wind farms off the coast of England. We own motorways in France. We're one of the biggest green investment investors in the UK. Might even be EMEA now. It's not on that slide, but yeah, we're really big in that green space. Me specifically, I'm working for the commodities and global markets. That's kind of like the trading section of the bank. So I help basically give pre-analytic capabilities to our traders and the people that like desk analysts and people that sit around them. So on the next slide, I'll just talk a little bit about where data engineering has come from. Hopefully this isn't too kind of revolutionary, but it has really evolved a lot. Today and one day we'll make more data than we did from before 2000. Like the amount of data, if you think about using your phone, if you've any wearable tech, if you've any of that stuff in your house, Alexa, the amount of data points that is just with you, let alone looking at companies and society as a whole. So it's really started off with the basic reporting, what happened when, and trying to understand and try and tell a story of it, like kind of in the past almost. Then you've descriptive again, which is more kind of telling a story, really trying to understand why something happened or exactly what caused it to happen. And then the predictive analytics, trying to look in the future and see, well, if this is what it's based on the past, what is it going to be like in the future? And then the optimized, so that's kind of your machine learning, AI, and all of that is not possible without kind of data engineering and the work that enables people to do that kind of AI and machine learning. So on the next slide, a bit about how my team works. So we, I think as I've kind of said, we look after the trader, quants, desk analysts, anyone who's trying to use data really for that predictive and that optimized outcome. And then we also help with our risk and finance. That's kind of the more reporting side on the last slide. And what we do, we really focused on trying to get a lot of data into the bank. So previously you would have loads of different teams looking at very similar data sets, all downloading it directly from whatever data provider. So they would have been paying licensing costs probably for that. They would all been trying to store it on their computers. They would be trying to do like, computationally heavy things in Excel. We've tried to take all of that away from their desktops and the kind of limitation that come in that. And we built a data lake. So putting in all the data for users to use and then building analytical tools on top of that. So we're trying to cater for everyone. So you have the clickers, the people who are probably very good at Excel, but don't know how to write code and don't want to learn. So we've built kind of tools around that they can drag and drop things basically as they would do in Excel, but just kind of give them a more scalable. And they're able to share their work with others as well. They're not just sending each other Excel spreadsheets and someone might have an outdated one. And then we also have capabilities for people who do know how to code. So a lot of people these days are learning how to code because it's such a kind of in-demand skill. So a lot of desk analysts, quants, they all know how to code, and we give them, again, a platform that they can put their own code in, but they're not running it on their local desktop, and it's able to scale and, able to share. And then the consumers as well, making sure we can send reports to people in whatever format they want. And a lot of the time we end up just sending them back Excels, but at least they're not doing all their calculations through Excels. So if you go to the next slide, this is kind of, I would say, a fairly typical tech stack on like a data lake. So you have cheap storage. We use Amazon, but there's obviously GCP and Azure. And we also have along the top actually our data catalog, or we use a vendor product called Elation. So I think I was mentioning there how a lot of people would download the same data sets on their computers. We try to take away from that and say, okay, we've got this weather data, we've got this oil data, we've got whatever it is, and just make it visible to other people to use so they don't have to download kind of the same data, just in different formats. And then we have Data IQ, which is our kind of machine learning platform. So that caters to our clickers and our coders. And we kind of bring it, our data lake is more of a self-service thing. So people can write to it through Python or a REST API. We use Presto. So Presto, I think, came out of Uber or Facebook. So a lot of big companies built really good platforms using open source, and they ended up actually opening that up and putting it back out to the market. So I think Presto came from Facebook, actually. So we use that, and it's kind of the best of breed for a query engine for big data. And we have a few other things there. So we have Superset, so just allowing people to use SQL and we have data visualization tools. And then the real-time engine, that's this area I work specifically in, and that language, KDB. And then Eigen is a new technology that we actually brought in last year, which does natural language processing. So if you have a PDF and you want to take out certain data points, you can train it to have machine learning models in order to be able to take that out. So some really, really cool stuff there. And yeah, that is kind of everything I had. Very happy to answer any questions anyone has on that.
Cool. Thanks so much, Una. What does your day-to-day look like?
Ooh, that's quite hard. I would say my kind of week, what I do. So literally just came off a call with my users, just making sure that they were happy with anything, new functionality I'd brought out, if they had any questions. So we do that kind of every week, every 2 weeks. Then we have, similar to how Ali said, daily stand-ups where we connect to the rest of the developers in the team, help people with any issues that they have. Might be bug fixes, might be help training new people. As I said, there's a woman, Hamda, who's just joined my team, so helping her get up to speed is definitely a big part of my job at the moment. But also kind of looking ahead and seeing, maybe where will our platform goes, what we have now, the best solution. I'm kind of senior now, so I maybe don't get to code, be as hands-on as I'd like to be, but definitely try and get some, coding and technical skills in every week as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Actually, a question that somebody had earlier when I was running through like where the data engineers sit in a sample business model or a organizational structure, and then kind of the progression from junior through to senior. And somebody had the question of typically how many years or how much experience does it take to move from a junior role through to a senior role? From your own background, is it okay to ask how many years of experience have you from when you started through to today?
Yeah, definitely. So I graduated in 2016, so have been working for 6 years now, 7 years. And I was a consultant, so there definitely wasn't a lot of career progression when I was in that company. That's actually why I left and joined Macquarie. Since I've been in Macquarie, I have definitely been very fortunate to get promoted for the first time ever. And that went from being kind of mid-level to senior. And it was quite a big accomplishment. Macquarie is quite flat structured. So compared to maybe other financial services, we don't have as many levels, which can be good and bad. Bad in that you mightn't get promoted all the time. But what I found in Macquarie is your title doesn't mean that much. Like you can get more responsibilities while being at a certain level. You can put your hands up and say, that looks interesting, I want to get involved. So yeah, for me, title is not everything. I've definitely seen a lot of career progression, even when I wasn't getting promoted, by just doing things outside of my comfort zone or stuff that I'd never done before that sounded interesting. So definitely within Macquarie, there's a lot of scope for that. In other organizations that I've worked, I wouldn't say it has quite the same. It's a bit more structured in you do this, you'll get promoted, or if you stay on this certain path, you'll get promoted. But in Macquarie, there's a lot of things on the side that you can end up doing. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And then I'm aware that you may need to drop off, but there's a quick question from Twitch. Chadrick Mani asks, do you use any classic ETL tools like SSIS, Informatica, and the others? If that's information you're allowed to share.
No, we don't. Our platform is pretty new, like it's been built in the last 3 to 4 years, so we are using kind of a lot of the more modern technologies. We do have a few like Oracle databases, but anything we can, we are trying to migrate to kind of more modern tech stack as much as possible.
Cool, thank you. Thank you both so much for joining. It was really great to hear both of your career journeys up till now, and yeah, how life has been. Thank you for joining. Thank you for introducing your backgrounds, and I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Have a really good afternoon. Bye. Great. So that was a quick check-in with Ali, who was a graduate from one of our previous data engineering bootcamps, and Una, who is a senior manager at Macquarie in the data engineering department. And I'm going to move on into talking about the placement phase, which is the part of the bootcamp after you graduate. So right now you're in the admission stage, which is leading up to the bootcamp that starts on the 8th of January. So completing all the different steps that there are in order to apply. Then you join the bootcamp from the 8th of January through the beginning of April, and learn all of the technical and soft skills. Then, after you graduate, you join the placement phase. This lasts up to 6 months. Hopefully for you, it will last less than 6 months, because once you get into a role, you are fully done and you are kickstarting your career journey. So the placement phase of your bootcamp is up to 6 months long, and it's dedicated to securing you your relevant job role. The key difference is that this part of the bootcamp is driven by you with support from us. So while you're on the bootcamp, it's kind of driven by us. You're expected to engage and to take part as much as you're able. But we set the curriculum, we set the day-to-day, and we set the content. However, once you're in the placement phase, it's completely up to you what direction you want to go. So we find that our graduates generally secure their careers through 2 different routes, and those are self-apply or generation-sourced opportunities. So self-apply means that we will have upskilled you in how to apply for roles. So we'll teach you how LinkedIn works, how Monster works, Indeed, all the other job boards. Teach you how to search for roles, how to kind of decipher what a role wants when they ask for particular job description bits, how to tailor your CV and tailor your cover letter, and how to get your interviews. And then once you're in the interviews, how to do like a STAR methodology, how to answer questions so you can highlight your skills, especially your transferable skills from other work or life experiences if you don't have the written experience for the role. And then kind of once you begin your transition into employment, how to do that in like a holistic and helpful way. The second type of career kick you could get would be a generation-sourced opportunity. So the reason that we are, even though we teach online, technically we could take learners from anywhere in the world. However, we are set to take learners from particular parts of the UK for particular bootcamps. So this data engineering program is for people who live in a London borough, with the logic being that we have a placement team or a partnerships team or an employment team based in different bits of the UK. And we have one based in London whose role is to make connections with employers across the London region, to let employers know who we are and how we work, and when we have graduates who are completing their program and are ready to start work. So our placement team will be letting employers know who hire data engineers that we have an upcoming class of graduates, how many people there are, and those employers then will let us know if they have any open positions. You'll be given those job descriptions and you'll be invited to apply. So you can see like in the job description where it's based, what the salary is, what the job expectations are, and you'll be able then to decide if you want to interview for the role or not. We are finding that more roles are on site or hybrid. And so that's why we're kind of saying that if you live in London, we want London jobs and so on. So sometimes as you move towards the end of the program, you will have what we call ECEs, which are employer connection events. So that's when an employer will drop into your classroom. So it could be someone from the HR department or from like the data engineering department, or even just one of the C-suite at the organization will drop in, introduce their company and everybody, what they do, how they do it. And everybody in the classroom will have the chance to introduce themselves. So go around the classroom and do like a speed dating. Everybody has 30 seconds or 2 minutes to tell the employer who they are, what they're into, what they want. and the employer may choose a couple of people then to interview for their open roles. Otherwise, we'll just be sharing opportunities that we find or that employers tell us about that you may be interested to interview for. During these 6 months then, we will continue to be in contact and have regular check-ins and opportunities for you to engage. So depending on where you are or where you're at as you graduate from us, you will have a support plan that's tailored to your individual needs to ensure that you're staying engaged and enthused and continue to upskill after you graduate. You'll have one-to-one connections with your employability coach and or your placement manager, and you'll also have group sessions. There will be a full schedule of activities for the first month and then moving on. So every week or a couple of times a week, you'll have like a check-in and then also like workshops and upskill courses. From time to time, we have whole day events. There'll be a full schedule of activities that'll be published to you for you to engage in. You'll have check-ins with your placement manager and you'll have time to do your self-directed job search. You'll have access to LinkedIn Learning, which is like the particular educational side of LinkedIn where you can do like upskilling workshops and short trainings and then add badges to your account so that when employers are looking at your LinkedIn account, they have like concrete proof that you have these skills in particular areas. And you'll also have access to our graduate hub. You'll have continued connections with employers who are hiring, and you'll be able to interview for jobs that come up. For graduates who get a role, so they're placed, we can offer you support then with transitioning into the workplace, because that can be quite a big jump or transition if it's not, if you aren't familiar with the workplace, or it's been a couple of months or years since you were last in work. And then for graduates who are still job searching, we'll offer you ongoing employability support. And then our commitment to you is that we will help you find job opportunities. So we work hard to partner with employers across London to secure opportunities for you. We'll match you to them, and we'll find and send you good and relevant roles to self-apply for. And then we'll also signpost you to the best job platforms and show you how to find the most relevant roles. We'll continue to work with you to build your competence and confidence in self-driven job search, self-application, help you write your CV and prepare for interviews that come up. We'll encourage you to reflect on your interview feedback and build resilience. We will support you to continue upskilling. We'll help you prepare for your new job once you've been offered a role, and we will celebrate your success. And then one more slide and I'll dive into the chat. With the job search, you'll be the driving search of this. And after you graduate, very much it will be self-guided alongside our support because you'll have an idea of what you want to go for. And we'll be kind of helping you be proactive and setting up your routine and continuing your good habits. And applying for a minimum of 5 jobs a week and filling in a tracker so that we can kind of monitor your progress and ensure that you're staying on track. We'll expect you to continue good attendance and being responsive to messages, and then that you'll be open to relevant roles that are within a commutable distance, that if you have any visa arrangements or childcare, that you'll be able to work on those and be transparent about them. To the upcoming employer, and then let us know when you've secured something. So as always, as with the earlier engagement in the bootcamp, we find that the more engaged and kind of transparent and responsive you are, the more likely you are to succeed at this point. I'm just going to drop into the chat before I continue because the next couple of slides are about the next steps. So that is what's coming up during the admission stage of the bootcamp. So what happens between now and the bootcamp starting. So Alistair, you asked whether the course is certified. So the Generation Bootcamps are designed with the specific jobs in mind. So we, instead of like you going back to university and doing a whole 4-year course in software engineering or computer science or data, we train you the specifics for this role. So you will get certified from us, and the training is delivered by InfinityWorks, which is a company connected with Accenture, and you'll get a certificate that lets employers know that you've completed our training, and the employers that we've connected with know the value of this training. And because this course is so practical, you will have lots of proof of all of the bits that you have learned. So for example, you'll be uploading your projects to GitHub, so you'll be starting to build your project portfolio, and you'll have evidence that you have been working on your Python and your SQL and your other coding bits. You'll also have access to LinkedIn Learning, like I said, so you can add those certs to your and your small training upskills to your LinkedIn profile. I hope that answers your question. Okay. Craig Alexander, you ask about any prerequisite skills apart from learning Python that we'd recommend to tackling the course beforehand. So no, we expect you to have good basic Python skills. So kind of a way to kind of upskill in this is if you've heard of like Udacity, they've got a good introduction to Python course. I believe is free, so you can drop over to Udacity and check that out. Kind of work through that to make sure you're upskilled and ready. Otherwise, we kind of have the expectation that you enjoy solving problems, that you have good logic and you're able to like step-by-step through problem solving. You've got good attention to detail. You're pretty comfortable with learning new software programs, and you are good with digital literacy. So you've got like your Microsoft Office down, like Word and PowerPoint and Excel, and that you really enjoy picking up coding challenges. This could be anything from Excel formulas through to like designing games in Scratch, or playing around with like Unreal Engine or Blender. There's no specific requirements. We do expect you to have some basics in Python, but otherwise we want you to be enthused and excited by data and a career in data engineering. Otherwise, we don't expect you to have any prerequisites or experience. And I see that you dropped in a question for Una. Sorry, we didn't get to that. So like she said, the skills you'd want to nurture from early on, I think it will be a balance between having an idea of where you want your career to go. So like as you start off as a junior data engineer, do you then want to in time move towards getting into a particular niche of the data engineering sector, and then upskilling in that? So whether it's a particular language or a particular aspect of the role, such as like working on lakes or warehousing or data management on the cloud, and then upskilling on that? Or would you want to become a really strong generalist and moving into a senior role as a generalist? Or would it be wanting to get into people management and being a senior manager of a team of data engineers, and then you'll be working on your management style and some of your HR strengths? So I think it's an idea, it will be an idea of figuring out what it is that you want out of your career journey, and then backfilling that into your own professional development once you land your first role. And Amir, you had a quick question about, is this session recorded? So yes, I see you're watching it on YouTube, and anybody who is watching on Twitch, I don't think you can rewatch it on Twitch, but if any video that's live on YouTube, if you keep the same YouTube link, you can always just refresh the page once the webinar is finished, and the webinars, or once the YouTube live video is finished, and it'll stay up there as a regular video for you to watch. So yeah, it is recorded. It'll be on YouTube. It's on the same link that you're watching right now. And if you go back to our YouTube page, and the Generation UK and Ireland YouTube page, and you click on the live tab, you'll be able to access this for the next couple of weeks as well. So next steps, I acknowledge that this is a busy slide. It's presented on the next slide. It'll be presented in a table. So if this isn't the way that you like to visualize things, the next slide is a table with the same information. So today, the 31st of October, starting on the left and moving towards the right, today is the info session. Today is day 1 of the admissions process for this bootcamp. Giving you all the information that you need about data engineering, generation as an organization, and the application process. You should have already started your application. If you have access to this webinar, you should have made your application already. If you haven't, please start it as soon as possible. You can go to uk.generation.org, go to London, data engineering, and click on apply now. If you have already started your application, please go back and make sure that you've completed as much of it as possible. There are a couple of different steps to the application. There is a Python quiz, and please do this before the 7th of November, so in the next 10 days or so. The Python quiz is, I believe it's 10 questions, and it should be multiple choice. It is, please don't be nervous. It is, it's just assessing what your current level or current understanding of Python is. On the very first page, so the welcome page of the quiz, there is a couple of articles to read and a video to watch. So you'll link out from the quiz, from the welcome page of the quiz, to some articles and a video. If you feel like your Python knowledge is super basic, or if you feel like you're not that confident in the coding language yet, read the articles and the video, watch the video, and then come back and do the quiz then, and you should have no problem whatsoever in finishing it. If you feel pretty confident at your Python abilities, then continue through it, do the quiz. You should have no challenge. And that just gives us a basic idea of where you're at in your Python coding at the moment. Then from the 8th to the 15th of November, we have group tasks and hire views. And I believe I give you a couple of quick tips about hire views later on. So the group tasks will be with either me or one of my colleagues. It'll be a 30-minute live Zoom call with one of myself or one of my colleagues and some other applicants to the program. I will give you a problem for you to solve together. You'll solve it over the course of about 15 minutes, and then you'll present back to me your solution. The reason we do these group tasks is because, first of all, we want to have some face-to-face time. This webinar being live is great. However, it only works one way, and I don't get to see you. And we love to see our candidates and get to know you a little bit better at this early stage. So that's the first benefit of the group task. The second is, as a data engineer, you need really good problem solving. You need to be able to think on your feet, and you need to have good communication and negotiation skills. So the group task is your opportunity to shine and to show us what your communication skills, your problem solving skills, and your teamwork skills are like. The group task is not Python related. It doesn't have anything to do with data. It's meant to be fun. It's like a fun team building, team solving problem. You don't need to prepare anything in advance. It'll just be a 30-minute call. We'll have a little bit of face-to-face time. I'll give you your problem. You'll do a bit of teamwork to come up with a solution, hopefully a bit of creativity, and then the call will be finished. At the same time, you're doing your group task, like the same week and a half from the 8th to the 15th of November. Indeed, you should be able to do it right now if you want, as in the portal should be open right now. You can do your hire view. A hire view is like an interview. However, it is not live. It is just you answering questions to pre-recorded videos. So there are 6 questions. You will log on to the HireView platform via your application portal. You will see a recording of one of my colleagues asking you a question, and then you will record a video of you replying back to the question. So your answer should be about 2 to 3 minutes long for every question. And you can re-record your answer if you're not super confident or super happy with how you answered the first time. But please don't be nervous. The questions are based around your background. Why have you applied for this bootcamp, and why are you interested in data engineering as a career? We are not looking for perfection. We're not looking for like any particular sets of experience or any education. It's not like your typical job interview where we have like a long list of the job description and what we're looking for in a candidate. The purpose of the hire view or the video interview is to get to know you, to kind of see where you've come from, what are maybe some of the challenges that you've faced in getting into employment or getting into the tech sector, and why do you want to do data engineering as a career. So the kind of answers we want are, who are you? We want a real sense of who you are, where you're at in life, and what do you want from the future. So that's the purpose of the hire view. And those then need to be marked, and the successful candidates at that point will be passed through to the final stage, which is the mentor call, which is what Shanice talked about earlier, and I talked about earlier as well, which is just the 20-minute check-in with one of our mentors to see if there are any particular ways we can support you, and get a picture of what life is like at the moment for you. And then finally, the offers for the bootcamp will be sent out around the 8th of December, and then you will have some time for induction and orientation before the bootcamp starts on the 8th of January. This is the same information, just in a table, and I'll run through it again to make sure that it's relevant and clear. And we're coming up towards the end of the presentation, or the end of the webinar. So please, if you have any particular questions, drop them in the chat now so I can get back to them before I log off. So please complete your application as soon as possible. Even today, you can log back in and see what sort of step you're at, and keep going until you hit the review stage. So please upload your, please do the aptitude assessment, which is the Python quiz, and then also upload your eligibility documents. So I talked about, I think it might be on the next slide. Yeah, I talked about how we want to make sure that all of our candidates are eligible. So how we do this is we have a proof of right to work, and your proof of right to work will also show your birth date. So this could be either, and this is a proof of right to work in the UK. So this is either a British or Irish passport, or a UK birth certificate and a national insurance number, or an EU passport and your share code or your settled status proof. Or if you're not from an EU country, your residence card, that is your BRP. And you should show both sides to give us the proof of right to work and your birth date. So this proves that you have the right to work in the UK, and it also proves that you're over the age of 19, or you are 19 or older. Then we want to prove your unemployment or your underemployment, and this document should also have your address on it, and your address should be in a London borough. So how do you prove this? You can either upload your latest universal credit statement, so that can just be a screenshot of the most recent statement that you've had. You can upload your recent bank statement, and the bank statement should not show like a regular salary coming in. And if you want, you can blank out some information that you don't want to share if you don't want to share everything on your bank statement. If you have or are currently recently working, you can upload like a 0 hours or fixed term contract, or if you've recently left your job, you can upload your P45. So there are two parts of the application where you upload a document, being your right to work and your proof of employment status. So to your right to work, it is either a British Irish passport, UK birth cert, an NI number, EU passport and your share code, or a BRP, and that proves you are able to work in the UK and your age. And then the second document is your unemployment or underemployment proof, and then your address. So please do this as soon as possible, because the group tasks and the mentor calls, we only have a limited number of spaces. So you will book into a group task, and they are first come, first served. They will start on the 8th of November. So there is a little bit of time for you to work on your application between now and then. So next week on Wednesday, we will have our first group task. And there's a couple of those every day for just over a week. And like I said, you don't need to prepare anything at all for the group task. It should be a fun activity that looks at your problem solving and your teamwork. You should also be completing your Python task about this time, and do brush up on your knowledge in advance if you like. Then, as you are doing your group task, you also need to be doing your higher view, which you can record online, and you can do this at any point because it's a video interview and it's recorded. So if you want to do it right now, you can go and do it this afternoon if you like. You can do it tonight. You can do it this weekend, whatever time suits you best. Then once the group tasks, the Python tasks, and the higher views have been received and we've marked them, we will pass through the successful candidates at that point through to the mentor support conversations or the mentor calls. You'll get an email saying that you are now open to book into these. You'll log back into your application and you will be able to book on our calendar at a time that is available. Those need to be completed by the 30th of November, which, as in the final ones, will happen on the 30th. They will start on the 21st. Then for the candidates who are successful, and we have 25 or 27 spaces available on this bootcamp, you will receive an offer letter on the 8th of December letting you know about your success. If you have not been successful, you will also receive a letter, and this will give you a little bit of feedback, and will also give you some signposting, so telling you about other organizations that might be able to help you, or about upcoming boot camps that we have. Then, between the 8th of December and the 8th of January, you will have induction and onboarding. So you'll meet with your mentor again. You might meet with your instructor. You will have whole class sessions that kind of get you ready for the bootcamp, making sure that you have everything you need. And if you need any additional practical bits, like one of our refurbed laptops or a Wi-Fi dongle, these 4 weeks give us time to send them out to you. Then on the 8th of January, day one of the bootcamp, you will log in at 8:45 before the bootcamp starts at 9 a.m. So as we're coming to the end of the webinar, please go to your application portal and see what step you are at. And if you can progress through to the under review stage, please progress this afternoon to ensure that you have a space, because they are first come, first served, and they are limited in number. So a quick check-in on higher view. So we do higher view instead of live interviews for this bootcamp, because it gives a lot more flexibility. Like I said, you can do it whenever you want. A lot of organizations in data and in tech are using platforms like HireView as part of their screening. And so getting you some experience in using this interview platform right now kind of gives you a boost, so you have experience when you come across it in the future. There are no surprises, because you have time to hear the question and take time before you answer the question. You can prepare as much as you want, but please, we're not expecting perfection, so please don't spend too much time preparing. We want to see you as a person more than we want a perfect answer. You can think about your answers before you give them. You've got the question right there in front of you the whole time that you're answering, so you can make sure you can tailor your answer to the question. You can work around your own schedule, and you can also re-record your answer if you're not happy with the first time that you do it. So what are we looking for in the interview? Please talk about your motivations. So share your enthusiasm for the course. Give us the impression that you understand what a data engineer does and where it fits within a data team. And give us examples of the ways that you've started to explore data independently. So one of the questions that is asked does ask about, I believe it does ask you to do a little bit of research and then come back with your answer. And that kind of gives us the impression of how you have started to explore data independently. At this point, you should have already completed the Python coding assessment by the point that you get to the HireVue interview. And let us know if you're putting any coding that you're doing into practice with smaller projects. And then also let us know in the HireVue your opportunity to benefit. So we want to support people with high levels of potential who are struggling to break into the industry. Let us know that is you. Let us know your story. Give us a sense of your motivation to overcome any barriers you might have and show us your growth mindset. Give us examples of how you faced how you've shown resilience or resourcefulness, and let us know that you're in a place in your own journey to complete a 12-week bootcamp and then move into employment in the 6 months after. So thank you very much. I really appreciate your time over the past 2 hours. It's been wonderful to engage with the chat and to know that you were there listening and present. This is just an example from one of our classrooms from a couple of months ago. Like I've said, the data engineering program at generation.org inbox is open and is monitored. So if you have any questions or any queries at any point, or if you hit like a roadblock or there's an issue with your application, please don't hesitate to email us. We love to hear from you and we love to help if you've hit any problems. Otherwise, I hope you have a really good evening. Please do log back into your application and see what stage you're at and make sure you're making some progress towards finishing your application. Otherwise, yeah, it's been lovely to spend the past time with you. I'm just going to answer this question quick by Alistair. Do you need to do the Python course before applying? So the Python course that I mentioned, the Udacity Intro to Python, no, you don't have to do it before you apply. If you've got a little bit of competency or if you're comfortable enough with the basics of Python, then you should be perfectly fine, should be grand to do the Python quiz yourself. But yes, you do need to do the Python quiz as part of your application because Python is a core part of working as a data engineer. There was one of our other slides, the data analytics program shows how Python is going to be the top coding language by 2025, and that gap is just going to keep going. We do expect you to have a good basic understanding of Python as you start this bootcamp. So no, you don't need to have done any particular course, but you do need to do our Python quiz before you finish your application to the program. So yeah, thank you so much, everybody. I hope you have a lovely evening, and I really appreciate your time. And I look forward to seeing you on a group task in the next couple of weeks. Bye-bye.